Hey everyone, it's Riley, and this is
Stephanie.
And for those of you who don't know, this is my twin sister. And the reason why I haven't actually been able to do a video with her before is because we lived in separate provinces. So this is the first time for us being able to live together and to do a video. So hopefully there'll be plenty more to come. But we also, I guess, kind of thought today would be a good day to do one. This week has been like the Trans Awareness Week. And today is the Trans Day of Remembrance. So, I don't know, we thought it was a good day. We kind of picked out some shirts that had the trans colors in it, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we figured we'd do a video for you guys. And we have some questions that we either came up with ourselves or people kind of were wondering. If you guys have any more questions for us, you could definitely comment in the comments below in the video. And maybe we'll do more videos like this in the future. So, do you want to just get down to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
Here we go. Hope you guys enjoy. So the first question is, how did I come out to you as being trans?
Kind of a cool story. So, my brother originally came out to me as trans during a time where I had met someone in the LGBT community who actually, knowing like small community, dated an ex of mine, and so him and I connected, and I say him because the person that I met also identified as trans or transgender. So it was kind of cool, and I was really nervous because at the time, my brother wasn't open about being trans. So I was like really nervous and thought that he would judge me, and so I was like, hey, I have something to tell you. So like that guy that I've been kind of seeing, and I won't say names, but it's like, yeah, I just wanted to let you know, like, that person is female to male. And my brother was just like, oh, well, like, that's cool.
No issues, obviously.
And then he's like, well, since we're on that topic, and then just kind of, like, dropped the ball, and that's kind of the story of, like, him coming out to me.
Okay. And to follow up with that, how did you feel when I came out to you, I guess, being trans?
So I think for me, like, going into the relationship with someone who was identified as trans, like, I was very accepting, obviously, but the hardest part was realizing I'm going to use, like, a female, but I was like, I didn't have a sister anymore. And I think that, like, for 22 to 23 years, because we were in around that age when you came out, for me, it was just, like, you almost feel like you're losing someone, and that's the hardest part, because you're like, do I let go of that old person? Do I have to replace them with this new person? Like, it's a lot that goes through your mind, and you feel like, in a sense, it's almost like you have to kill or, like, let go of this existing person because they're not there anymore. And I think that was, like, the hardest part. But I mean, like, with time and the understanding and realizing, like, I had a brother all along, it just was, presented to me in a female form that didn't match the inside. I think eventually, like, very quickly, I just, like, it did take me some time, but it just took me some time to adjust, but I totally down for having a bro.
And also, like, to continue on the questions, how has it been to, like, watch me transition?
It's actually been really cool because we are biologically identical twins, believe it or not, and we still have a lot of similarities, which I see the similarities, but not meaning that in a bad way.
I know you've mentioned in the past, like, I still have attributes and still things about me that still are the same, that are still there. So I guess, like, that part of me is still, it's easier for you to adjust.
Yeah, like I felt like in the end, like, I didn't feel like I really lost a sister. I gained a brother, and I like, that was kind of exciting because
still that same person there.
Yeah, it's like I still saw the same person who was always there, just now a happier, like, person.
Yeah. Do you miss the old person or that, like, old sibling?
So funny thing, I would actually say no, I don't miss the old person because the old, like, sibling that I had, we didn't get along. We definitely had a really nasty twin moments, and I think that at the same time I wasn't comfortable with who I was because, I mean, we grew up in a very Christian family, like, living the straight life, married men, like, children, white picket fence lifestyle was very much, like, put into our heads. And so then being, like, coming out as gay, both of us as, like, gay twins, like, that was one step. And then he developed into saying, like, hey, well, I'm more than that. Like, I'm not gay. I'm actually male. yeah, it was like really cool because I gained like something in the end, and yeah, I don't know. I kind of got off topic there, but it's like I love the brother I have, and I would never like take that back.
What do you like love most about having a brother now?
I think that like the cool thing about having a brother now is that I had a sister for so long, and the like now having a brother, it's like I got best of both worlds in a sense. So now, you know, my, like, obviously, like you, like, as my brother, there's still things that, like, you do with me, like, dress shopping and stuff like that. Just drag him around dress shopping. That I absolutely, like, love that he does with me, because you know, it's not every guy's favorite thing to do, but I still get, I guess, old pieces of you, but I have, like, all new pieces that I'm gaining as well, which I don't think that if you stayed as, like, female, I don't think I would have had the person I have now, or the relationship that we have.
Probably not. What's the biggest change, whether it's transition related or just in like general about me, that you've noticed like since my transition?
Biggest change would obviously, like, I mean, starting on the outside would be physically, body type, fat distribution, like, our legs are very different sizes, and it was crazy to see, like, how tiny your body type had gotten, and it was like, but then how, you know, broad your shoulders were, like, because we were very similar body types. Like, now I was always a little on the heavier side, but it was just, like, cool to see, like, that physical change, but I think your personality is more real now as well.
I know, like, the one biggest change you noticed, like, when I first saw her, because technically I started transitioning and didn't see her for almost the 3 years, like 2.5 to 3 years that I was transitioning until I came here. The first two things were like, oh my god, you look like my dad, or like our dad, and then like facial hair was like one of your biggest like, notices, and then my voice too. Like we talked obviously over the phone and stuff, but I think like the facial hair and like seeing me in person, I remember her reaction actually when I first like saw her after 2.5 years was like, wow, you look actually so much different in person than like over the phone or over video chats and stuff. Like, so that was a big shock.
Yeah, it was just like I guess like in pictures you can only, like, you know, people say the same about me, like, oh, you look so much like different in person, and so when I saw him, it was just like, it was like a shock. I was like, oh, like
it was real.
It was real, yeah. But it was really cool to like notice those features and differences.
What was? Sorry, that was. Going back to the last question. Was it hard to switch pronouns and names for you?
Switching pronouns and names was definitely hard at first. Not gonna lie, because I you know, it's like the image of the person comes in your head, and you just want to say like that name that associates with it, and so it blurts out, and you're just like, oh, you correct yourself, and that's, I think, the big key is like, even if you start off saying the wrong name, you know, on their part, like on your part, having the patience is like, just correct them and say, no, it's this, you know, it's not this, it's Riley, it's not this, it's whatever. Just correcting them in a moment, like in a more calm manner, or catching your own self saying like, he, like, and showing like you're trying. That was a huge thing, but I mean, the biggest one was going back into old memories. Like, I got really used to talking now about Riley, but like, oh, I have my brother and this and that. But memories of when we were kids, that was the hard one, because I didn't have those memories with Riley. I had them with who used to be there, and it's just like, going back, I'm like, do I say that name? Like, do I use this name? And then, like, so I asked, and I just said, like, what would you prefer? And, you know, obviously it's like, well, even though the name and the body was different, I was still in there. Riley was there. So, you know, that's what I would prefer. So,
or, like, use neutral pronouns.
Or, yeah, or, like, you know, when they were kids, or, you know, but now I just say, like, when my brother and I were little. Like, and how I do that, and sometimes I still catch myself, is I think of who he is now, and then I think past tense. And going like that way, sometimes starting with who they are now, then thinking of who they were then, you start with the right name. But I think, for the most part, I did pretty good.
And just a couple like sibling questions, because I'm sure you guys are kind of curious. Who's older?
I'm older technically.
This one.
36 seconds is our time difference. And if you're curious, yes, that's quick because we were C-sectioned.
Preemie babies.
Preemie babies.
So yeah, that's why she's older. And who's taller?
So I'm taller. He is about 5'5".
About 5'4", 5'5".
And I'm between 5'6" and 5'7", so there's about 2 inches in difference.
Like 2 and a bit, actually. Like I think I made a video on this, but before I was about 5'2", like about 5'2", maybe at my tallest, and then I saw her again, like I said, throughout my transition, and when I saw her, we both instantly realized, like, I definitely grew. Like, I didn't think I did, but I was like, oh, maybe I did. No, it was definitely noticeable when we met again, because I was like, okay, like, last time I saw you, she could see, like, right over my head, and now, like, it's, like, kind of close to where we're, like, sitting. It's a little bit of a difference, but it's not too much, but it's definitely still noticeable, but not as much as before. And so another question is, how did, like, our parents react to us coming out? So I'll give you guys a little bit of a gist. I think I've talked to myself personally about this. My parents coming out as gay. Like my sister said, we're like Christian family. I've mentioned it before. Christian family. Like growing up, it was a lot to deal with. But coming out as gay was definitely hard. I got a really shitty like outing to my parents. I basically got kicked out. I had to move out of my parents' house. Technically, I feel like I didn't have a choice. Because of the reaction that I got, so it was really, really shitty on my part for coming out as gay. My mom wasn't too terrible, was still, took a bit to adjust to, but, yeah, it wasn't great, it wasn't the best, so, but, like, for your coming out was definitely different, so.
Yeah, and it's, like, kind of, actually opposite, because, my mom was, like a little shocked, but, like, kind of said, I knew all along, like, I was just waiting for you, but, it still took her a little while to get used to it, but she kind of knew, and then, for me, it was actually the opposite, and I actually waited till I was moved out of the house, living on my own.
20?
Yeah, I think I was around 19, 20, because I was after I graduated high school. And originally, I kind of told friends, like, bisexual, but then when I officially came out to family, it was like, no, I'm gay. So yeah, it was just like my dad, which surprised me, was like, yeah, I knew. And I was, like, mind blown, because I thought, if anything, like, I mean, I'm quite feminine. I didn't think either parent would have guessed that, so I was really shocked. And I mean, I don't know if it was just like he thought I would come out as being gay because like my brother did, but I don't know. He just said, no, I knew you were. And then my mom, obviously, like me, I guess me being like more closer to my mom and her seeing like me as like her actual daughter, because she said like she always felt like Riley was a boy. She, I guess, felt like she was gonna lose me too, and like she took it really hard. Yeah, but then I don't know, like now, like it's still difficult at times, but I think that my family are coming around,
and then like me coming out as trans was kind of the same thing as before. My mom has pretty much been accepting. Like she's like, when you told me that you were gay, she's like, I honestly didn't really believe it, but like I liked women my entire life, and I didn't even really identify as a female, but like it was just the only label that I knew out there. I didn't really even know like being transgender existed, but like we look back and like there's this like so many things that happened that make sense. But coming out as trans, my mom was like still like, yeah, I knew that, but my dad's side and all of my dad's side still don't accept me, and I've made videos on this. Like they still call me by my dead name, still use wrong pronouns, and like to this day still do that. So it's still been pretty shitty and pretty rough on that end. But like I've always said, I love my family, and I will always be a part of their life regardless. But when it comes to coming out, we both had our bad experiences, but like we've had some good ones. Like it's been split.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest part was having such a close twin relationship.
Definitely has helped.
Yeah, like has helped, because we had that one person who would support us no matter who did it. It was like I got one.
Even though like I was afraid that like I would lose her, because I have heard of that, like twins not really supporting each other, but like you've been pretty supportive like throughout the whole like process. Even like I was afraid because like it is like losing a sibling, or like I've heard. I mean, I haven't dealt with that, but like coming from her end, like I was very afraid of coming out to her, because she was the closest and has been the closest person basically since we were kids. Even when we didn't live together and had those like fights, we still have been always close. So yeah, definitely like it was nice to have that support. Let's say like how do you identify now? Is a question that came up.
Yeah, so how I identify, because I actually like mentioned I have dated within like the trans community. I call myself queer. I would also say like gay is okay, but I more identify as queer because it's more about specific, I guess, type of people that I find myself drawn to. So like lesbian, people who identify as lesbian. I don't normally chase after like straight or bisexual. And then also like certain people within the trans community, I like certain like, so I'll use like female to male over male to female, not because of like their biological like how they started, but I just find myself more attracted to female to male. And I mean, like, I have met some beautiful MTFs, and if I met someone with the personality I was looking for, I would never turn it down. Same with my mom's asked me that question about what if you met a cisgender guy, like, would you say no? And I was like, well, no, not if he had like the personality, the attributes, like the things I'm looking for in a person. But am I going to go look for that? No. So I identify as queer. What do you?
Like for me, like, I mean, I'm pretty similar. Like when it comes down to it, like I would say I've always same with her, like been attracted to solely women. But if like I found someone, I don't think I like when it comes down to it and saying this, I don't want to sound like I don't know if I could ever date a cis guy. Just for, like, my own reasons, but also, like, if I ever met somebody I connected with, I wouldn't turn them away either. So I can't say, like, I definitely wouldn't. It's just not something, like, just that I would ever go searching for. Same with, like, trans guys. Like, I find, like, I connect with them on so many other levels when it comes to being, like, physically, like, attracted. Not usually, but, like, if I find that connection, I'm never going to push somebody away. So, like, I don't really like labels in a way. Like, I would say queer in a sense as well. But like if someone asks, I would be like, yeah, okay. They're like, oh, are you straight? I'd be like, yes. If they say like ask if I'm gay, I'd say no because I'm like I don't usually solely like ever go chasing for guys. It's not like 90% of the time. It's like usually women, even like trans women, just women in general is like my preference. But I'm never gonna deter away from somebody. And for me, like, and I don't know for you, it's just kind of like being more comfortable with myself and like my identity, who I am as a person. Is that what you find like when coming like, to terms with like being more open? Like would you say it's just like being more comfortable?
Yeah, it's more comfortable with the person that I'm with and myself. Like I just want to be with someone who I'm very girly on the outside, but I'm a very tomboy on the inside because we're not from here, like we're like raised in the East Coast,
and brother.
And I was raised around a lot of boys. Kind of had a brother my whole life who like picked on me and whatever, and like it kind of was. And it's just like I had to be tough. So I'm like I'm like I do my makeup and I do my hair, but I'm like on the inside I love like getting down and dirty, and it's like so I'm not usually attracted to femme women either. Like I more like attract like more of, let's say, like a butch style, or a butch, like a femme butch like myself, because like I want the personality, that connection, because I can't be like, oh my god, my hair, like no. Go outside and get that shit wet. Like, no, I'm just like,
Sorry, I don't listen to offend anyone.
No, yeah, I'm just like, that's how they explain it. Like, that's not my type. Like, I appreciate a good-looking girl who loves to, like, take care of herself, It's just, like, on personality-wise, like, I like to have someone who likes to get down, get dirty with me. And that not in a awkward way. Like, leave it at that. I'm gonna stop talking.
I was gonna say one other question, like two other questions. Like, does my identity, like, when I came out to you as like trans, did it ever like occur to you like to question your identity in a sense? Like,
I think that in a way I did question my identity because I did identify as a lesbian. And then before you came out, I started dating someone who identified as trans and was kind of like pushed to change my label, and it wasn't queer. I can't remember the label I was given, but I was kind of pushed to change my label because you're not a lesbian if you date trans people. I'm like, no, you're correct.
Which I have to do. Like, I know I disagree. Like, you can still identify as a lesbian. I would never take someone's like labels away from them as long as you don't put like the lesbian label into the relationship. So like don't like hashtag in lesbians with you or hashtag gay relationship. Like that's not a gay relationship. You can hashtag as being gay yourself. Like honestly, like if that's how you identify, that's how you identify, but don't take that away from the person that you're dating. Like that's my thing. Like I feel like you like love is love, and you can identify as gay, straight, like bisexual, queer, whatever, and then fall into like a relationship with someone who you did not expect to, and still identify as if you're like the identity that you were before, but not have that taken away from
you. So I think, like, you know, sorry, because I thought our computer fell asleep for a second. So yeah, it was just like, I think then I kind of like, after that relationship ended, I did a little like soul searching and was like, you know, who am I? Because
like, I came out.
Yeah, then he came out, and I definitely like have like wondered like, would we look the same if I were to transition? Like that thought of like, you know, I don't know, because we both done drag, you know, like I was a drag king, and I would definitely like do it again, and people are like, man, you make a hot guy, and I'm like, yeah, I think I would, but I'm like, it's not actually a lifestyle that I think I see myself living. I, you know, picture my life as a female, like,
always have.
Yeah, I always have, and never have questioned that, and you know, there's definitely moments in our life that now I look back on and it makes sense to me about, you know, you being a guy, and I'm like, why did I not see this before? So I think, but like, of course, I think you question it, like, especially being a twin, you're like, am I the same? Does that mean that I am that way? Like, and it's totally
like even coming
normal.
out as gay, like, oh, like,
does that mean I'm gay too? Like, and no, it's totally okay to identify as different things, just because you're identical or fraternal twins or even siblings, like. Doesn't mean that because one is you have to be, but I would say that I question my identity, and I'm still like finding myself, but I understand more who I am now than I did.
The last thing that I was like I came up with was like, what would be some advice that you would tell somebody who is like in your shoes and going through like having a twin who's like either questioning their identity, even if it's being gay or trans or whatever, like as someone who's on the other side of that support.
I just say, like, be open. So if you were questioning it, I would say, like, you know, have the courage to talk to your sibling and say, like, I think I'm questioning it. And then for the person hearing it, it's going to be hard. And for the person who, like, is coming out, like, understand that it is hard. And like you said, you don't understand what it was like to be in my shoes, and you know, they're like, oh, well, it shouldn't be that hard. This is who I've always been. You have known that, but I didn't know that.
Like, for me, like, that's, like, the one thing, like, I kind of had to realize, even with family, like, now, obviously, 3 years in, and those who are still using, like, dead name and stuff, like, they're just not trying. But for me, like, even with her, like, I had to realize it takes time. It is not going to be overnight. And that's, like, where our communication definitely came into, like, perspective. And, like, you know, give them, like, time of day to, like, try. Don't, like, give it a week and be like, oh, it's been a week. Like she said, I've known basically almost my entire life. It's just I didn't know how to like label that or how to like really like be honest about how I felt, because I didn't exactly even know how to explain it. And when I did, like I knew, but then it's like, okay, she has to have time to process it. You've had your basically entire life, so like for the other person, give them time. But yeah, like if you're the person questioning, like she said, just be open and be honest and like be accepting on both sides and be able to communicate. Like that's the biggest thing, honestly, is just communication.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I find that like because like we're twins and siblings, like, and you know, I think it was easier for us to confide in one another and trust like that we could do that, because like growing up in the lifestyle and the family that we were raised in, we didn't really feel like there was anywhere else we could go to. So you know, understand like it might take some time and they might like pull back, but like just give them that time and space and say like, hey, like, so how are you feeling about this? Yeah. Like, let's talk about it. Like, just have the openness to be honest and say, you know what, like, I'm not sure how I feel. I feel like I'm losing you. Like, so
you had a dream about like me, like in my transition, and like felt like, you know, in that dream I was taking somebody away from her, and like just being and having like communication definitely like brought us together. So like that's honestly like one of the biggest factors, like 100%.
Yeah, and it's like, it's funny, like we actually had a similar dream recently, like woke up and we talked about it, and we both dreamt that I wanted to transition. And so the conversation came up of like, well, have you thought about it? And I was like, well, of course I have. But I'm like, do I actually want to do it? No. But like the thought crossed my mind, because you've done it. I'm curious. I'm like, what would I look like? But I'm like, do I see that as my life? No. And have I ever thought of it like throughout my life? No. I'm like, and you know, like looking at my life in the long run, I picture myself being like the husband and like the dad? I'm like, no, that's weird for me to say.
Like, in a way, like in sense, regardless, like from me and your perspective, like we have to be able to like look at the other person's life and like it's like basically a day in their shoes. Like you have to understand where the other person is coming from, what they're going through. So like she doesn't know what I'm going through and vice versa, and that's where like the communication comes in key. Like you're not going to know how that person feels and what they're going through unless you be able to like be verbal about that. So
yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. Like, people are like, it's kind of crazy because I guess like Rye has like 11,000 some followers on Snap or Insta, and I'm sitting at like 1,400. Yay! But for me, it's not about like being like popular. For me, it's just like I'm here to support him, and people are like, oh, it's so cool. Like you guys are like my idol. Like I had people get starstruck by me, and I'm like, I'm Stephanie. They're like, that's exactly why. And I'm like, I don't get it. I get it for him, not for me.
Yeah,
but I'm like, I think that it's just like people are like
to see that support in like a sibling, like it's just people are honestly like shocked by it. It's just like they don't see that, and especially like the bond that we have. People are always like, you guys are twins, and you can definitely tell, and like you guys have the connection, but like the actual like the way we interact and that support, like it's so different than I guess even other siblings.
And other twins, like we have, other twins that we met that are like, we're not twinsy enough like you. Like, they're like, oh, I'm jelly of like your twinsiness. And like, they just say like they see like a huge difference in their relationship and ours. And I'm like, I think that honestly, like looking at, over time and what we've been through together, and we just have had so much support that we're like each other's mom. Like, this is gonna sound weird, like mom and dad, like, but sibling as well. Like, we've had no one else in our family to like support us but each other. So we've been literally like everything to one another. So I think like, when it comes to being like family, like
family's family, and like that's my thing. Like regardless when it comes to who they are as people, just be there, support them, love them for who they are, and just appreciate. And you have to, like I said, basically take a day in their shoes and understand where they're coming from. It might be hard to understand it now, but that communication and being able to like talk it out is what's going to make you understand, and like maybe even open up your mind and like your eyes to something you would have probably never been able to actually understand or grasp. And even still, like you might not even fully understand what I'm going through or why, but it's like at least you kind of like understand like how I feel about it, and that's like the biggest like thing I can like say. But I think that's it.
Yeah.
And so, you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, and we'll be back for more. We have a few things that we might talk about in a later video. Maybe our birth twinsy story, because people think that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cute.
You'll have to tune in more for that one. But I think that's it for us. And if you guys have questions, like you said, comment in the little section below. But thanks, guys, for hearing my side of the story for Rye's coming out and transition, and my, I guess,
gist of it.
Just in transition myself.
Well, yeah,
we'll call it that.
It's like everyone has their own transition in
a way, and I think that's all what it's all about. Like, we all grow from in people, and maybe it's not physically or whatever, but it's like emotionally and spiritually and whatever it is. We all go through a transition in our life. So.
We love you guys.
Bye.
And stay tuned.